All right. Well, as I said, this is the best job in the world. So, what would matter if a few things went wrong? But I'll tell you, there have been a few things that have gone wrong. Uh, I have not only been a storyteller, but I have run a storytelling festival with Maple Woods Community College and Mid-Continent Public Library with a variety of other people. And there have been some hiccups there. I've done storytelling on my own. I've gone to other festivals and been part of them. So here I go.
Okay.
Storytelling Festival, the very first year of Kansas City celebration, storytelling celebration was 2000. That very first year, the person who was running it with Maple Woods hired the marching cobras, and they did their whole thing inside a building, and we were almost deaf. Oh, that was wrong. Then the next year, in the middle of the year, she took me out to a parking lot in a cold car and told me she was quitting and it was going to all be on me. Okay. But she got rid of all the files. So I was just lucky I had taken notes and I could carry on with the festival because we had to hire all new people from Maple Woods. There have been things, with some of the storytellers too. We've had a few people who I would classify as divas. One person brought bags of laundry, expected me to wash his clothes. Another person brought her whole family and expected Maple Woods to assign like a tour guide so they would take them places every single day and show them the town. Well, neither of those happened. But then, there was storytelling in other festivals. I remember volunteering for the storytelling festival in St. Louis. 5 women drove over to volunteer and do backup. We never got to back up, but we all stayed in one hotel room. 5 women. 2 of them snored so loudly, we had to order extra pillows to cover our ears. None of us got much sleep, and then it was a lineup to use the bathroom in the morning. But storytelling, now what could really go wrong with storytelling? Well, I was hired to do a week in Coffeeville, which was, oh, I thought this will give me some experience. 22 nursing homes, 2 high schools, and 1 retirement center, all in 5 days. At one nursing home, of course, they brought people in and they were in wheelchairs and just kinda comatose in their chairs, except for a few of them that were on the couch. So I thought, "I'll liven this up. I'll go around and shake hands," until I shook hands with the wrong guy. He pulled me down on the couch and covered me with his body. And a nurse came running in and said, "Oh, no, no, you never shake hands with George." I never shook hands with George again. And then there was, yeah, of course, there was the time, you're stationed next to a band and you can't even hear yourself talk. There's always something about losing your way. Sometimes before GPS, you didn't know where you were going and you thought you had the right directions and you ended up late. Oh, that is really bad. Um, I remember I was hired to do a workshop and storytelling for a whole group of lawyers. And we were having this program at the Elms in the room that was designated full of ghosts. After I did the program, it was nighttime when I did it, and I drove home and somebody followed me. And I thought, oh, this is just a coincidence. But even when I drove through McDonald's, they followed me. When I got on a back road, they followed me. When I got back to the highway, they were following me. If I sped up, They sped up. If I slowed down, they slowed down. Finally, I started going a little faster. They came up right next to me. I don't know if they were going to give me a message or shoot me. I'm not sure. But as soon as we were going at full speed, I slammed on my brakes and took the next exit off, and they went their way and I went mine. And from that day on, when I did any kind of night programming, I piled pillows up in my car and put my biggest puppet in that seat as a passenger. So people would think I was not alone. One year I was being hired for a lot of uh, book fairs. They used to have book fair. I don't know if they probably still do. I haven't been hired for one in a long time, but book fairs at schools, and they would hire a storyteller. That way you got to meet the families, and there would be all ages and parents, and I'd bring my puppets, and we would tell stories for maybe an hour or have two programs. It was just really fun. They usually started around 6:30 or 7:30. So I was hired by a school district south of Kansas City. And the principal had hired me, and she said, yes, 7:30. Be here be ready to tell at 7:30. I said, I'll be there a half hour early. Well, I had written a contract. I had the time, 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on the contract. I sent it to her. She signed it. She mailed it back to me. And on the day of the program, 7 o'clock in the morning, my husband has gone to work. I'm piddling around the kitchen. I put my makeup on. I had packed the car early, so I knew everything was in order because I like to have it just right before I go to a program. 7:35, the phone rang. Where are you? Oh, who is this? This is so and so from so and so school. I'm the principal. I was like, yes, I'm coming tonight, 7:30. No, you're supposed to be here now. And you could hear her banging on something. And I said, oh my gosh, when that happens, your heart goes from here down to the bottom of your stomach, and you're thinking, oh no, what have I done? I've really screwed this up. Well, I said, all right, I will get out there as soon as possible. You get here as soon as you can. So I quickly dressed, 10 minutes, and I was gone. It took me a half hour to get there. When I got there, the kids were waiting. I did 2 half-hour programs instead of 2 one-hour programs. And afterwards, I'm packing up all my stuff, and I get ready to leave, and somebody comes out of the office, maybe one of the secretaries or receptionists or a teacher, and they say, the principal wants to see you now in her office. I thought, oh, great, I'm being called to the principal's office. That hasn't happened since high school. And so I went into the principal's office. She closed her door. I mean, really, closed that door. And it had a glass window in it. And sit down, she said. I sat down, feeling like I was about 12 years old. And she said, this will never happen again. I said, no, it won't. I said, I'm really sorry. I apologize for not verifying it was not PM, but AM. I mean, you had signed the contract. I thought, oh, don't go into that. And she said, well, I said, look, I apologize. The programs are free. You don't have to pay for it. She said, fine. So I gathered my stuff and I left. And I thought, oh boy, she's probably telling a lot of schools, don't ever hire this person. But I guess her memory was short. She hired me again 2 years in a row. So some things can go wrong and they're out of your control. and some things you just feel bad about forever. Anyway, those are just a few of the things that can go wrong.